Launch. This is the show where I talk about what it's like to run an insurance agency. I'm a 21-year agency owner, and I talk about all things marketing, sales, staffing, and retention. This job is hard, and we all need a little bit of help, and that's what I'm trying to do for you. If you want a little extra help, do me a favor and send me a text. 208-213-8809. Send me the word free, and I'll send you a resource that is loaded with free information. There are podcasts in there, YouTube channels, there are articles, there are downloadable assets from trusted professionals in the industry. I've curated it for you, and it's waiting. 208-213-8809. Send me free. Today, I have a special guest for you. I have 5-time DM of the year, Matt Wolk. Matt is a treasure, and he's an open book, and I knew he'd give a good interview, so I invited him on, and we talk about all things running an insurance agency. We talk about what the climate's like out there, what is the difference between a great agent and an average agent, what things do you really need to be paying attention to. He is a wealth of knowledge. He's been to President's Council more times than I can count. His agents are lucky to have him. So is the company that he works for, and so are we. So thank you, Matt, so much for coming on and sharing some time with us. I really appreciate it. It's great catching up with you. And let's get to the show. All right. Well, I'm excited. I am joined today with Matt Wolk, who is a 5-time District Manager of the Year for Farmers. Is that right? 5 times?
It is correct.
Are you trying to get to 6, like Jordan? Is that the goal here?
We would love to. We're honored. I say right now, I just walk in the morning and I log in and it works. And that's a win for me because there's much adversity out there right now. And just, it feels like it's more today than it's ever been. So yes, we want to win again. We want that.
Yeah, of course. I knew it.
Yeah.
Now you're in Missouri. You're in a small town, right? Is it St. Genevieve? Is that right?
You know what? That's where my father's agency was located. That started in 1975. My brother took over that agency. I'm in St. Louis, so about an hour south of us. St. Louis, population, let's call it 3 million in St. Louis and surrounding. So we have good demographics. We got area to grow in the St. Louis market and in Missouri with farmers. And the unique thing, Matt, I think, as you know, we're now offering different products with different carriers as well. So we see a lot of potential. We're pretty excited in our area.
Good. I want to definitely talk about that because that's new. That's something I never thought I'd see. You're probably the same way. I was shocked, but thrilled at the same time. So that was incredible that we have that opportunity. Matt, I'm going to go all the way back. Like, how did you get into this gig? I know your dad is a legendary, DM. Tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in a household like that, how you, continued on in the family business. How did you take the DM path? I know you have a brother that took the agent path. Like, walk me through, just give me a little 101 on your path to how you entered this, this industry.
Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity to share that because I love to share as I say, I started on second base. I'm very fortunate in this career.
Sure.
My father was very good at what he did, and he was. And it's hard to see that sometimes when you're growing up, your hero's your dad. And I would, but then I'm like, well, if he can do it, I can do it type thing. I got this going through college, but I also, before college, I watched myself flying to Hawaii and taking a friend of mine. My parents would say, do you want to take a friend? And I'd take a friend to Hawaii. And this is on farmers, going to these president's clubs and stuff like that. And then I was honored to go on vacation with them to, I don't know, Branson, Missouri or something like that, which was still nice. In 6th grade, you don't know any different, but I'd rather Hawaii, and I'd choose to go to Hawaii. Fast forward, going to college, I tell this story all the time. My parents would come down and take us to lunch and dinners and have a few drinks, and they would say, gather your friends and let's have fun. They'd always cut us off before it got a little too crazy. But I found myself migrating towards that opportunity to say, man, I want to provide for my kids like my parents have. And my father came from absolutely nothing. My mother came from nothing. They built it all through Farmers Insurance and building an agency. And it was a grind. It was a scratch agency. At one time in 1994, it got to the 7th largest agency in Farmers Insurance Group.
Wow.
Based out of St. Genevieve, Missouri, population 4,411 humans.
Oh my God.
Not a big town, but my father expanded going north into St. Louis, and that's why we got our footprint up here. But just going through that, I knew whenever I graduated college, I said I want an opportunity to be able to provide for my family one day and be able to be paid what I believe I'm worth. And corporate America was not going to do that for me. I did interview a little bit with corporate America, and they would say, you get this mindset that you're coming out of college, and they kind of brainwash you to believe, oh, your finance degree is worth, oh, I mean, it's $100,000 degree, and so you're coming out in 2002 or whatever it was at that time, and I'm thinking, oh, somebody's going to offer me $80,000, 90,000. I think my first offer was for $30,000. You're going to in 50, 60 hours a week. And I thought, well, if I'm going to work that hard, I want to work for myself. So I got the opportunity. I started out as an agent. I was doing the agency side while in school, going to college, and started that. I started with M in the phone book because my district manager at the time said, start with M because everybody quits by the time they get there. So all my clients, it was pretty funny. All my clients, whenever I transferred them on to my brother at the time, were all M's. And all I did was open up the phone book and I would just hammer out M's. And I tell you, Matt, I was a horrible closer. I couldn't ask for the sale. I did not. I wasn't good asking for referrals. What I was good at was loading the funnel. So I had
Okay.
every time that I made a phone call is worth $2.87. So I just worked it backwards as I was dating at that time, expiration dates to find out when the policies were coming due. I would just load that up and go, okay. And this was hard in college. I was 20 years old going,
Yep.
I'm going to go in instead of going to penny pictures or whatever. I mean, I was 21, not 20. Take that off there.
Exactly.
I don't want to go to penny pictures. I'm going to make phone calls. So I'd figure out, hey, that night I made $300. I did not see it at that time, but I knew if I just followed the system that was in place, okay, if I do that, I'm going to make some sales. And it was great because I kept filling the funnel, but
Yeah.
I didn't ask for the sale. So I would say,
So I want to poke on that really quick because that's something that I talk to a lot of agents about. As far as filling a pipeline, it's important, but asking for the sale is like a mountain that I'm standing on and screaming at agents to try and do better, because we can sell a product that we can sell to almost anybody, right? And so if you can get over whatever is holding you back from asking for the sale, I mean, the simple metric is the agents that ask for business will write more than agents that don't ask for business, right? It's as simple as that. But why did you have a hard time asking for business? What was it?
great. Matt, I was 20 years young. I didn't know how to do it. All I was doing was doing my presentation as I was told, and then I would do a handwritten card right there, that same day, a handwritten card, drop it in the mail. 3 days later, another handwritten card. The decisions you make today will determine how you spend your tomorrows. Like I had just a system set up, but
Mm,
I truly, I believe what it was. I got so darn busy. In my mind, I had to make my expiration calls and get my X dates. I had to go out and do my presentations, and I would just keep doing that. And I filled the funnel. I never asked for the sale, and I never asked for a referral. But guess what happened? I actually ended up, because I had such a full funnel, I would have people call me going, "Hey, we're ready
yes.
for the purchase of the insurance. What do we need to do?" And I'm,
Great.
my gosh, how bad am I? Like I didn't even have a good follow-up system. And guess what? I ended up getting referrals because I didn't nag people, because the file moved off my desk because I had another file right behind there that I had to work on that started with them in the alphabet because that's where I was working. So I just had so much activity. My lack of success of asking for the sale and asking for referrals was made up because I had enough volume
I
coming.
love it.
But I wasn't, Matt, I wasn't scared to ask for the sale. I don't know why I didn't do it. This was 25 years ago, but I don't know why I didn't do it. But I diagnosed that problem probably 5 years later when I was a district manager and I was working with somebody, and I said, man, you remind me of myself. Why aren't you asking for the sale? You
Yeah.
asked for the sale a number of times through the conversation. Get comfortable saying, how do you want to make a payment here? Like, get
Right.
people asking for the sale. And I don't know. I didn't diagnose it then. I think it took me 5 years to diagnose that problem.
Yeah. No, it's hard, but I like what you talked about earlier is that you had such a fat funnel that eventually that stuff landed on your lap really organically. And that's another one of my favorite words I'm using right now is abundance. Like if you have a really big pipeline of people, like the business is going to come, statistically. And I usually tell the analogy, like I have a good friend that's in the real estate business, and he coaches, realtors. And he's like, if you're a realtor and you've got two listings and one of them says they're out, they're not going to list with you anymore, then you're down to one and you're panicking, right? You're like, oh my God, I only have one left. I got to make money. I got to sell this one house. But if you have 20 listings and you have one that bails on you, you got 19 left, right? And so like it's such a simple analogy to explain why abundance is so important, because it can really mess with your mindset. If you have one that bails, but you got 50 more over here that you're chasing, it's cool, but
Right.
if you're down to 3 or 4, you're stressing, you're panicking. Am I going to make payroll? Am I going to pay my bills? So like what you were doing was really important because you built a big enough pipeline that stuff was going to trickle, in. So that's another really good example. So thank you for bringing that up.
No, you're asking about it.
Let's talk about being a DM. Okay. Like, what did you expect when you started your role as a DM, and how is it different than what you expected?
Yeah, and let me, if you don't mind, I'm going to back up and finish that story. So
Oh,
once
yeah, yeah.
I did the agency side, I had the opportunity to work out in home office. So I moved out to LA for a little bit in our home office and was a liaison between the agency force and our home office. And working with agents, that's what kind of trickled me into going, I really like working with agents. And what I found too, whenever I was going through my reserve program and selling policies, um, back then it was an AS400 system, so there was no mouse. So, I am in college doing everything that not, I mean, the technology was a lot more advanced than the insurance world. And then I would go in and sell my client that was with an M, and they would go, okay, now input this into the system. And I'm going, what do I have to do? And they go, shift F3 and shift F5. And I'm going,
These are the green screens.
yes. And I'm going,
Yes.
my gosh, I don't know how to get this into the system. So I would threat every time that I would sell a policy. I'm going, oh my Lord, I have to get this into the computer system somehow. But once I figured it out, Matt, I found myself migrating to help other new agents that were reserves in the system, which is where my passion came in, is helping other people be successful and get in the industry. So that's what led me to become a DM. That started in '02, and I did it with my father. My father did it from '02 to '06 with me, and we took on, at the time, we had 23 agencies and 23,000 policies. And it was fun working with my father, but I already told you his past, and being a top performer, it was very difficult for him to work with low performing agents and people that really didn't care and people that were doing this to annuitize their retirement. And he did not understand that. And it took a toll on him because in his mind, everybody should want to perform at this high level and go on these trips and get these accolades and do that stuff. Um, so that was very hard for him. And what I thought it would be like in the beginning was, hey, we're going to send all these people to Hawaii, like I had talked about, and their families are going to go and we're all celebrating and we're going to grind and work really hard, but we're going to celebrate hard too. And that was not the case. And it was the thing that wore my father out with it. He said, I don't see myself continuing on. I cannot work with uh, I don't know, I don't want to say the bottom feeders or anything like that, but they drain your time. And you have clients like this on the agency side, I'm sure.
Sure.
They take all your time and they just suck the energy out of you, and they suck the energy out of the room, and they bring the other top performers down, and you put one rotten egg in there or one rotten apple, it crushes the room. It crushes the environment and the culture. So, whenever he got out, I always jokingly say I finally got him out of the way, and then we took off, and we had the opportunity to, yes, claim a few districts of the year. I don't say DM of the year. They're districts of the year because my team did win that. And what comes with that, I have one of my really good agency owners. He always talks about, we're St. Louis Cardinals here, and we're very proud of our team. And when the Cardinals are winning, the entire city has a buzz. And
Yep.
he always says, what do you get from the St. Louis Cardinals winning? And the answer is nothing, but you got pride. And that's the same in your district. You may not see in your mind what you believe to be a monetary thing, but when those around you are winning, you're winning too. It just brings you up. So help your team win, and you'll win as well. And it's going to bring you up with that. So I think that kind of answers the question, hopefully, on the district manager side, what I envision it to be to what it is every day. And it's changed. It's drastically changed over the last 5 years, and it continues to evolve.
Yeah. I want to talk about something that you mentioned, which is culture. I know the culture in your district has been strong for many years. Um, how did how did you do that? That culture is hard to build, man, especially if you have people that aren't winning, right? It's very hard if you got other people. The other thing that I know that is challenging about being a DM is that I don't know if I would enjoy being a DM because I know that I could help people succeed and I could tell them what they needed to do and how to do it. But if they were not willing to do those things, or they weren't willing to come to the meetings, or they weren't willing to deploy, my advice to help them be successful, that would be hard for me. I would be like, why? Like, if I can do it, I think anybody can do it. But how do you build a successful culture from the ground up, really? And then, what is the role of the DM to keep, what do you offer to to agents, as far as support? How do you keep them motivated? How do you build the culture and then keep it, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, Matt, it's a loaded question. So my mind just start going all over the place asking that question. But creating culture is tough, and you would be a great DM. Whenever you say you wouldn't, you would, because your training and coaching is phenomenal. And what you do day in and day out. I know you're working with one of my agents, Linda, and she would always get off the call and she'd go, "Oh my God, I'm so excited. Matt gave me the best ideas. It wasn't buying internet leads. It was very simple. It was straightforward." So you could be an amazing DM. The thing that helps me, uh I don't want to use I hate using the word I'm a success or a successful DM, because I don't claim myself that way. I've got so much growing to do. But I think what earned us some accolades in the past was abundance. You use that word and I liked it. And it comes with, I can only put so much in front of people. And if they want to take that opportunity, let's keep going. But because they don't take it doesn't mean you turn an eye as well. And it's no willing agency is left behind ever. And no willing team member should be left behind ever. As long as you're working with them and doing the best you can, but eventually they're going to raise their hand and say, "You got this culture and you got this team, and I'm finding myself on the sidelines and bringing it down," they feel bad. And your job's not to make them feel bad, but the culture is strong enough that it weeds themselves out.
Yeah.
That's when you get a really good culture. I'm fighting every day to regrow culture and keep what I have, because it's a challenge. There's a lot of this podcasting to, hey, I'll just jump on a Zoom. I think you need to be face to face with some people, and that's the importance of it. So I don't want to hold meetings to hold meetings. We don't want to hold road shows to hold road shows. Like, a lot of the stuff you can be emailed. You're dealing with CEOs and professionals in this business that they should be able to keep up, but there's something about that, just the handshake, the eyeball to eyeball.
Oh my God.
There's something special about that.
100%. I wish we were doing this. I wish you were in my office right now and we put the mics between us, because that's better. And that's something that I've been talking to a lot about, because COVID threw everything for a wrench in so many ways, right? Including, the face-to-face, the handshake, like people, it changed everything. It normalized Zoom, which I don't think is that healthy, in this kind of business culture. I do think, and the other thing I'm trying to talk to agents about is getting out and getting across the table from people, going to their offices, get back in front of go to the kitchen table again. I think that the prospects will feel a very different connection if you are visiting them face to face, or even if they come into your office. It's just, you cannot replicate a face to face thing. And we have all this tech and all this AI and all this video email and all this cool stuff that we can do to move things faster. But I don't, the human interaction can't be replicated through a screen. I don't think it can, so I'm encouraging people to get out of the office and shake hands and high five and hug it out, and let's do business like that. That's the way I grew my business. That's why I try and teach others to do it as well. It should be a pretty heavy part of how we do it, I think.
Yeah, it goes back to, I mean, internet leads are probably a necessary evil in our business. I feel like the activity can be there, or I don't think it needs to be there. There's other ways to grow your business, but you look at retention. You got to look at the big picture of retention. You may get a customer, but you only have so long to turn them into a client. but that face-to-face interaction sell, I try teaching a lot with our newer agency owners. Don't sell the policy over the phone, sell the appointment over the phone. Get in front of people, and yes, your retention will skyrocket. I know in today's world that's not common, but if you want to set yourself apart from 800 cheap, that's exactly how you do it. Go face to face, because they don't know when the kid hit the winning shot. They don't know when grandma hurt her knee. They don't know that.
Right. No, they don't. Tell me a little bit about what you do as a DM to onboard agents and give them the best chance to success. What kind of districts do this however they want? There are different districts do things different ways. How do you welcome in a brand new agent who's excited but scared? And what do you do? What's your process look like in the first week, month, 3 months, 6 months to give them the best chance to succeed? What kind of support do you offer them?
And Matt, I hope I'm answering your questions, because what you're asking, I mean, we could do an hour and a half just on that.
I know.
How to create culture. We could do an hour and a half on that. Not that I have answers to all this stuff, but I can share our onboarding. We constantly look at it. I always feel like, it's funny. We're working with a new district right now, and we had a guy, his name's Jacob, come in, and he brought us a new protege candidate, which is going to work underneath the agency owner. So he brings the guy in, and he's sitting there bragging on us, and he's like, "This is why I'm so excited to work with this district. These guys are so good at the onboarding and da da da." And at the end, I said, "Jacob, thank you." And the candidate left, and I go, "Did you just hear us talking before? Because myself and my head of recruiting were saying how stinky we are at it, and we got to get better. And we got this ship that has holes in it. What we're good at is clogging the holes. It's not going to sink, and we'll raise it, but then it's going to have more holes, and we're going to raise it back up." But the onboard process is a continual learning process with each individual, and it is not one meets all. It is definitely a one-off. And I think our secret weapon, honestly, is the pro forma. If I could tell you more and more, it's just let the math do the work.
I love math.
It's an equation, and the math doesn't lie. So you come
Beautiful.
in, you work the numbers backwards, you sit, we got this big old whiteboard, and we look at, in most of our candidates, Matt, I would say the majority go through a protege program. So that protege program, we love that they work with a mentor agent. What we're working on right now is tweaking our mentor agent to make sure it's the right candidate, because what I'm finding is sometimes these mentors aren't as involved as I'd like them to be, and I need them to be, because they're developing not only how to sell insurance, but how to become an agency owner and how to become a CEO.
Right.
Okay. So with that being said, we'll have all the data from their quotes. We'll have their closes. We'll have what type of policies they're writing. We'll have their contact rates. Like, we can pull and compile all this data. We then go into a room, and this happens 5, 6, 7 times. It could happen 20 times. It's just as many times you want to go through a pro forma. We break it all down, and we say, okay, so what do you need to make? We're going to start with the end in mind. I need to make $112,000. Okay, let's work your numbers backwards. We like that.
Right.
And
what's your average premium, right? What's your average household? What's your closing ratio? Let's do the math. Like, it's my favorite thing, and it's so simple. I get it.
A lot of people miss the contact rate, though. So they'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to buy X number of leads," or I'm going to, and another big thing, and Matt, you train well on this, is what's your lead source? Different lead sources are going to have totally different close rates and totally different contact rates, but that rate is super important. We met with an individual that was buying 2 agencies. It was all set up. It was a done deal. Protege grad, already had his loan, and we're about a week out, and we're doing his, we call it a panel interview. So before you go live, you're going to present to my team. There's 5 of us that's sitting there for this panel. It's not the full team, but the 5 that are in the core areas that we want them to be sit in the panel interview, and we're going through it, and they present their business plan, and then what the expectation is of the district, what the expectation should be for us to have of them. A lot of times people are harder on themselves than you're ever going to be. So these panel really, really good. We do record them and interview them so we can play it back and say, "Hey, we talked about this. This is what your expectation was." But the individual completely missed the contact rate. So he was generating X leads and then saying, "I'll have a 10% close rate." And we're going, "Oh my gosh." Not on internet leads. So these were on internet leads. And he forgot that there's a contact rate of maybe 30%, 25%. So he completely missed that, which totally wrecked his entire pro forma as we went through it. So we busted that down again. And
Great.
a lot of people upset, including him. And then two of the people that he was buying, two agencies, very upset, saying, you crashed this deal literally the week before. And I said, I didn't crash anything. We just gave the math. And unfortunately, when he did the math, he would have gone broke in 6 months and this wasn't going to work. I'm glad we figured it out now. I know you're trying to sell and move on with your life, but your clients aren't going to be happy. They're all okay with it now. And I don't know, Joe was the buyer. I don't know if Joe ends up with Farmers, but
Yep.
are in insurance for that matter. But we did the right thing by presenting, and the math does the work. Let the pro forma do it. Once you break that down, it's good.
Oh my God, thank you for all of that. That's all my favorite stuff right there. It's just, I was a math major in college. And so that's like it's like my second language. And so it's easy. It all makes a ton of sense to me. And I love to teach it. And so, yeah, it's the law of big numbers, right? It's math is truth. Like that's just the way it goes. And so it's just the execution. Can you do the activities that are going to lead to those numbers, right? And that's it. So, let me ask you, what would you say the main difference or a couple of main differences between maybe what you would say an average agent and a top performer or a great agent? Like, what do you see that great agents do that average agents don't do?
Yeah, it's a good question. Work ethic definitely plays a part of it. Willing to invest in their business, willing to invest in their people. You got to spend money to make money. Average agents seem to bitch.
You're not kidding.
And you have to be able to get over that. Adversity is going to happen in any form of your life, and in the insurance world in particular. Things are going to pop up. You got to be able to overcome that. And again, I'm just going to go back to the word abundance. If you have enough leads, you're going to face adversity, but you have enough other leads over here. Oh, got to move that person aside. I'll get them in the future. I got a CRM that's going to keep pinging them. I have more leads that I got to keep working that do qualify for this XYZ policy now. So, those are things that are real. And I feel like people, Uncle Tommy was in the business 42 years ago and he had all these renewals, and then he got a boat and a place at the lake and everything's great. And that's what I want. And it just doesn't work that way today, with where the world's at and what goes on. The world's just too competitive. So, there's going to be adversity. You got to be able to overcome that. Work ethic and willing to invest in not only yourself, your business, and your people.
That's great. Yeah, that's another one of my favorite words is willing. Like, what are you willing to do? I say that all the time to people. I was trying to work with an agent recently, and he's with a different company, and he was struggling. And we did the math backwards, just like you talked about. And it turns out he's with a different company where their closing ratio is higher, close to 50%.
Oh
And
my.
yeah, and I told him, I'm like, buddy, you just need one quote a day to hit the numbers that you want to hit to kind of get over this hump so that you can scale and move on. Cause he dug himself a hole. I'm like, one quote a day, man. You'll write 10 households a month. That'll get you your policies. That'll get you what you need to do. And he couldn't do it. And it was so, I gave him everything. I'm like, try all of this. And he just could not, again, he couldn't ask for the business. And it was really interesting. So what are you willing to do? I mean, he might lose his business. He might lose his agency because of that. And like, what are you willing to do? There's a line that, some people can and some people can't is really what I'm learning. And he's going to keep plugging away, but, yeah, what you really have to do, I think, is if you're not willing to ask for business, there's always fear in there somewhere for one reason or another. We all bring our baggage into what we're doing, but you've got to identify what you're really afraid of. Is it some past crap that you need to get through? But you also have to understand that fear it's fake. It's not, you're not going to get hurt, right? You're not going to be injured. You're not going to go out of business if somebody says no to you. But like, you have to understand, you really have to be self-aware and understand what you're afraid of. And then you got to get over that. And then that's probably some of the most important work that we have to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Matt read a stat this morning and it said 90% of what we worry about never comes about.
Never. Yeah.
I'm guilty. And
Me too.
don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. When teams struggle, I don't know, go with a football analogy. When a football team struggles, they don't create new trick plays. They go back to the fundamentals.
Right.
Okay. When Wooden was winning all his titles at UCLA, he wasn't teaching his players. He was getting the best players. It wasn't like, hey, let's do this new play where we're going to run this route, blah, blah, blah. It was how to tie your shoe, because not going to let one of his players ruin the season because they sprained an ankle because they didn't tie their shoes right or put their socks on properly.
Right. Yeah. Let's get back to the pick and roll, right? After that, after your shoes are secured. Hey, let's talk a little bit about adversity because we've all had to endure it over the past 5 years. And I know things were tough in your corner of the world. Talk to me a little bit about what the last like 5 years have been like. Talk to me a little bit about what it's been like for you. I know you guys took some hits. I know it was very hard to write new business. How did you keep your head down? How are you still here? You know what I mean? Like a lot of people have jumped ship and they're like, "Hey, I'm not going to do this anymore." You know, what was that period of time like for you? How did you persevere? How are you keeping your agents on, the ones that stayed on task? What's it been like, man? It's been really hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard everywhere. Choose your hard. I think a lot of people miss that boat. Being rich is hard, being poor is hard, being married is hard, being single is hard, having kids is hard, not having kids is hard. Choose your hard. So the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I think what made it easier for me, emotionally, I get very attached to my agency owners. Emotionally, I get attached to their families, their business, everything about them, because I'm their business partner. We succeed together, we struggle together. That was really hard. I mean, I get goosebumps even saying that. It was really hard for me to go through the challenges that we did face. You're losing some of your best friends in the business, but I will say some of the baggage, I think you used that word, it does release you to start over. And fortunately for me, I get the fun part of the business because I deal with new people coming into the business. They don't know the past, they're moving forward. And there's a lesson to be learned from that, of moving forward and let go of the past. But there's times, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I just lost one of my top producing agency owners and it stinks and I'm going to lose their policies. And then at the same time, I got somebody knocking on my door and go, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. I just sold 2 renters policies. And I'm going, oh no, 2 renters. Hey, I got to get excited about this. But you think
Sure.
I developed that person. I trained them. I brought them into the business and they're excited about it. So I'm going to get excited about it too. And all of a sudden those renters turn into homeowners and those homeowners turn into big life insurance cases and commercial cases. But adversity has been definitely a challenge for us. You just got to keep grinding through it. It got dark for us. I told you this before. I lost some agency owners that were really, really good and abundance. I think I led the nation in that category, and I'm not proud about that. But I look at the other side. I am getting closer. You talked about number 6 and how we accomplish that. I'm still a number of years out, but the fire's still in my belly to do it. And the knowledge is there. We know what to do. And we'll go back to the abundance word. I just got to have deeper benches, and I'm rebuilding the benches right now. And if you give them the right tools and training, the rest takes care of itself. And you just got to select the right candidate for us on the recruiting side, or for an agency. If you're bringing on producers, bringing on the right producer, if you get the right person, you really don't have to sit there and babysit them and hold their hand and say it's 8 o'clock, or you starting your dials and it's
Right.
o'clock, really call this evening. You just got to get the right people in place. And we're starting to get, we're picking up our head. We're walking. We're not kind of shuffling our feet. We're actually picking them up, and we're putting our head up and boasting our chest again to say, we know what we're doing. We're good.
Yeah.
We can get better every single day, but it's been a learning process. It's been a challenge.
Were you encouraging your agents to, like, I don't know what products you guys were struggling with, the most. It's different in different places, but let's say, maybe your auto was way out of whack, or your home. Like if you as a district was really struggling, based on old numbers that like, God, we're closing like 8% of our auto. Like, I don't know what your numbers were, but if they were really bad, and that's tough for agents to be like, my closing ratio is less than 10%. I'm doing everything I can. I don't know what I can do. I don't know what to do. Were you encouraging them to pivot to other products? Were you like commercial and life? You're like, we've got Medicare now. Like, what advice were you doing to help them plug holes to keep bringing revenue in? Yeah. What were those conversations like?
Yeah, and good question. So, and something we're pushing really hard. So, by the way, our auto rate was around 4%. So 8%
I'm sorry.
our home close rate at the time, whenever it was pretty bad, was about 6%. And I think if you pulled the data from home office, they would tell you that Missouri got smoked. But I, I don't look at it like and pointing fingers. We have to get better at
Sure.
what we do, and yeah, you got to pivot. But something we started to do then, and we dabbled with it, which is being built out now. And I worked with a good counterpart friend of mine. His name's Jeff Ivy. He's a district manager in Texas and does a hell of a job. Jeff and I are just gung ho right now on adding the fourth line of business.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
Look at retention. I want to be able to go to my young, new, hungry agents that are willing to invest in the business and say, I got a playbook for you. I want to go to my old grumpy agents that don't want to do anything and say, I'm not going to buy internet leads and I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go, I need a playbook for them. And I'm going to say, I have free leads for you to work with high close rates that's going to end up making your entire book more sticky. And I know it's just a repackaging of what we've always learned as cross sell your book. But when you talk about adding the fourth line, not the fourth policy, yeah, I love 3 autos in a home. And I know that's going to stick with me longer than anything else. But what if you had the 3 autos in the home, you had the umbrella, and now you add a specialty? Or you add a commercial policy or a work comp policy or a financial service product or a life insurance product, pet insurance. I mean, the list goes on and on
Right.
for what you can provide. So now we have a specialist that's going to work on that to look at what their quotes are and say, if you're not cross selling your book from day one, you and I talked about the monoline policy is not what we want. And if you read PNC Specialists right now, they had a huge article on it yesterday saying all carriers are going from monoline policies. They're all going to start trying to bundle their policies because it's the least expensive way to add revenue. And least expensive way to add revenue should be music to our CEO's ears, which is our agents.
Right.
So if you can go in and mine the book, the hard part is a lot of times our agency owners don't have the data. They don't know how to pull it. And we got to work with them with their CRM. They got an old outdated CRM or whatever the case may be. But let's just mine your book. It's free leads with high.
Right there.
So yes, you have to pivot. And there's always going to be something you can sell. And in financial services, if you even open up that door, my gosh, I mean, from mutual funds to 401ks to Roth IRAs to now 529 plans with the changes and what they provide, there's so much product you can offer. You really can. You just got to dig deep. And there's going to be times you're going to have to grind. And by the way, I'm happy I stuck it out. My income is backwards. It's 5 years backwards still. And that's hard to swallow because in the last 5 years, think of everything that's changed from COVID moving forward. Have costs go down? No. Have, you name it, everything's more expensive. It's more challenging. But if I would have done this whenever it was dark in June or July of 23, I would have been backwards about 9 years. So literally in that short of time, we built back, we cut it in half. And I'm confident you give me another year or two, we'll get back to where we were, and then we're going to start exceeding it too.
Great. I posted a question on a forum. I was like, "Hey, I'm going to be interviewing a legendary DM. Does anybody want to ask any question?" And a number of people asked, as far as buying and selling agencies, like, is there? Actually, the question was, "What's the real scoop that other DMs won't say about being able to sell or buy agencies in other districts?" What's the what does that look like? Is that something you guys are encouraging other agents to look at buying and selling agencies? Is there a process that you encourage agents to do that will help them be successful in that? Like I haven't bought or sold an agent. I haven't bought an agency in like 10 years, so I'm a little bit outside of that process. But I know a lot of people are doing it in a lot of places right now, and they're using it to, to springboard and to grow. And I think that there are opportunities there. So what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I go you ask 10 different DMs, they're going to have 10 different philosophies on it, realistically. And you ask 10 different agents, they're going to have 10 different philosophies on it too. There's one thing that's consistent in this, and we already talked about it. It's called math. Why don't
Right.
you math on it and throw it to the board? And what we found, the individual that you worked with in our district, she's wanting to buy a book. And we said, hey, that's great. Let's buy a book. Farmers, guess what? Farmers want you to buy a book. As long as you're prime or 5-star, go buy a book. They don't care. They're not looking. Do you think farmers will have more agents in the future or less agents in the future?
Less?
I think so too. And I think the writing's on the wall. They're going to have less, but they're going to be bigger. I don't think they're going to try running people out. You want to stick around? Let's stick around. You know, you need to follow our guidelines that make you a profitable storefront for farmers. But if you don't follow those guidelines, then VRC is going to hit you. You're going to get some discounted renewals and everything else. But farmers is good with it. I'm good with it. But once you do the math, and the individual we just talked about, I think she did the math and she's going after debt services with interest rates where they are today. If I invest the same money back in the business and I go back and look at my close rates and I look at my contact rates and I look at, let me be lazy and just cross on my book and let me add the fourth line of business. If she invests in those areas versus the debt services, the math doesn't lie. It actually does exactly what you've done, Matt. You haven't bought a book, you said, right?
Right.
Because you probably have done the math to say at higher interest rates and dealing with somebody else's headaches and everything else. Not that I'm against it. We sell agencies all the time. We're good with it. If that's what you want to do, I'm not going to discourage it because I also want to help people that want out of the business. Let's help them get out. I don't want people here. You're talking about culture before. You want to talk about wrecking culture. If you have somebody that's just miserable and still sticking this out, it is the agency owner's job to sell their book. That is their asset. Partner with your district manager to find the best candidate possible. But truly, if you're doing this and I met with one of my agency owners. We were doing his 2025 planning session. His name's Mike. Mike, I always said tigers don't change their stripes. Mike changed his stripes. He got on Al Candos's platform. This guy took off and just went to another level. Our ABC, his name's Chris Derby. Those two have defined all odds because I always say tigers don't change their stripes. These two have proven you can do it. So I meet with Mike to do his 2025 planning session and we're going through it. And I go, Mike, what's the big picture? What do you want out of this career? And he goes, I think I got another 5 years. And all I heard was 55 years. Okay, cool. We got 55 years together. And he started laughing. He goes, no, it's 5 years. And I said, what we need to do today is build your agency that you're going to be in position that you get the best value for your book of business in 5 years. So what do you think that looks like? And Mike goes, well, I probably need a really good CRM. So I'm thinking about shifting this. Hey, I like that, Mike. What are you thinking about doing? Okay, let's get on the call with them. Let's see what that looks like. And I'm going to hire a very key account manager that's going to stick with the book and she's going to be just awesome and she's going to know the entire book. Hey, let's look for that person right now. So we're building again with the end in mind. So with Mike, we just built that up to say, we're going to look at this and the ends in sight and let's work it backwards like we had talked about. And Mike now is so excited and we got 4.5 years left with him. And he is going to build this agency to be even bigger, better, faster, stronger. He's not going to buy an agency. He's just going to position his agency to be very clean and very good when he goes to sell it.
That's great. Yeah. That's another thing that we talk to agents about all the time is like cash flow, right? And how to be efficient with your money. And are you spending money and is the money you're spending driving enough premium to make it worth spending that money? You know, and there are a lot of people that waste, there's a lot of waste that happens in these agencies. They buy a lot of bells and whistles that don't move it, that don't move the needle. They're overpaying for staff. They're not getting enough out of their team. There's, really paying attention to the accounting part of your business is something that none of us really have when we start. Like it's something that you have to learn. Some of us had to learn the hard way because you're like, Jesus, I'm broke. Where's all my money going? And so, paying attention again, back to the math, is the money that you're investing driving premium? That's really the simple question that I try and help agents understand. Every dollar you spend, what is it doing? Is it giving you a prospect? Is it helping you keep a client? Is it helping you get better service? Whatever it is, that's really important. I mean, it's very important. We're a business, you got to be careful with the money that we're spending.
One thing to end with Mike. So one of the other things we were doing was hiring a producer to tee him up to be able to buy the book. So back to your buying question, tee up your buyer. Like those things, we did 2 of those last year where the agency owner had the succession plan in their agency for 7+ years. One was 7 and one was 9 years. The transition was seamless. It was phenomenal. And guess what? The mentor agent or agency owner got exactly what they wanted for the book and it was an easy transition. So I would encourage agents that if you're going to sell, let's start looking at that. Have your end in mind and talk about it daily. That, hey, in 7 years, this is what I want to do and accomplish. So what do we have to do to work it backwards to get there?
Wow, that's great. Last question I was going to ask you is about, are you guys able to offer different products now? Do you guys have choice?
We do have choice. Yep.
What's that been like?
We're new into it. We're only, I don't know, 5, 6 weeks into it.
Okay.
I can't answer it. I will tell you, my agents have a new swag because I think what they believed was Farmers was high on everything. They're starting to see that we're competitive. You know, it may be Progressive may beat us on the auto, but we may beat them on the home package sell. So I'm hoping, Matt, my concern with it is we take all the sales skills out of humans and they make it all transactional. I'm very concerned about that because if you do it, people will leave you over $1. And that's just not the end outcome that any of us would seek as agency owners. What I'm excited about is hopefully it helps them package sell it. So do it backwards and say, like I was just working with an agent today. He quoted me and he goes, "This auto's this and this home's this," and I go, "I don't care about the individual. Package sell the entire thing. Put it all together and tell me what it is." And he had a piece with all these different carriers. And guess what? If it was just in Farmers, it was less expensive, not cheaper, less expensive than what it was with the other carrier. The broker had a number of different carriers running through. And I go, don't try competing with every individual policy, just package it together. And once we packaged it together and it all went Farmers, but he had all these different quotes, Progressive over here on this one. And we had I don't know, Nat Gen on this one. Stop.
Right.
Just simplify the process, but it does give them that confidence. I think it's more of a retention play than an offensive play because writing new business, they need to stay where they're getting their bonuses and what product they believe in and have the claims backing. They know that if there's a problem on the Farmer's claim, they can call the claims adjuster. I don't know who Progressive has as a claim adjuster, and I don't know how to track them down. So it's
Right.
good. The initial thoughts are I was worried about it, especially as a DM, because through Craft Lake, we hardly get paid anything. And it moves out of our contract value. I can't sell my book on the open market. I would give it back to Farmers. So as a DM, it did concern me, but I'm seeing a lot of opportunity with it. It's exciting.
Great. Yeah, we're getting ours soon. I know we're on the radar. I was told Q2, which we're in, so I'm just waiting for it to drop here. I'm excited for it. I think it'll give some more opportunities, but we still want to keep everything, in-house with Farmers, and we want to use it to maybe keep a household here or there, or bring on a big one and eventually bring it over or something like that. So we want to use it thoughtfully, of course, but having this is an opportunity none of us thought we'd have. We never thought we'd be able to write a product, if Farmers was going to be able to give us a number. I couldn't believe it, but I was excited about it too. So I think, I do believe Farmers is doing everything they can to try and give us, the best opportunity for success. I've always thought that regardless of what who was in leadership, we have to believe that, I think, or else it's just gonna be harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Matt, and you, if you can't trust, because that's a big word, and Raul said, you got to trust us. And there, man, it got dark. And I'm telling you, in 23, my trust level, it felt like it was way down. And I got to say, those two, Ken and Raul, have some swag out there. And I got to applaud them because some of the stuff they're rolling out is stuff that like you just said, I never thought I would see. I never thought I would see because early on in my career, I was getting rid of agents. I was asked to say, hey, they got a broker contract with Progressive. They can't do that. You need to go have the conversation and tell them that they're done with Farmers. And those conversations stink. And now I'm going, you can quote Progressive if you want. At it. We don't know the claims adjuster, so just be careful with it. Also, one of the things that's coming is if you're prime or 5-star, they are looking at raising commissions and for the brokered business as well. So there's just a lot of opportunities to be in a balanced book. I think a lot of people look at prime. That's just, again, the terminology is just being a balanced book. It's more real today than it's ever been. And you cannot rely just on auto insurance. Who knows where auto insurance goes in the future too? That can be a whole nother conversation with self-driving cars. I mean, you go to Arizona and I forget Wemu or whatever it's called. There's a cruising right next to you with no driver in the seat. I mean, if you don't think that that's coming and being real, I would think the insurance on that is based on the manufacturer that takes the liability of it, which then what auto insurance do they have? I don't know.
I know. Who's liable? Is it the software? Is it the hardware? Is it the, yeah, I've thought about that a lot too. I'm like, well, if there's an accident, like where does that claim end up? Like who ends up paying? Is it like, so that's going to be an interesting thing to watch happen because the insurance companies are slow to react, right? Like we do not make quick decisions.
Yeah.
Like when the gig economy came out and Uber came out of nowhere and DoorDash and insurance companies were like, we don't know how to measure this risk because we don't know what the claims history is on like Uber drivers because they're so brand new. Same with Airbnb, right? We're like, they have no idea how to rate for risk. It took years to figure that out. So that's really going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out.
Well, right. And just being a balanced book because you can't just rely heavily on auto. And I'd say a lot of our agents are heavy on auto or heavy on home. And same with the tariffs. I mean, who knows?
Right.
And I know there's certain vehicles that are going to be hit harder. Well, eventually that trickles down to their insurance too. So
Yeah.
it's going to be out there. So just be prepared. There will be some more changes. There's always going to be adversity. The one thing that is change.
Yep, that's for sure. All right, last question is why are the Cubs better than the Cardinals this year?
Your mic was cutting out. What'd you say?
Why are the Cubs better than the Cardinals this year?
Cutting out. I didn't catch that. What
Oh, no, really? Can you hear me?
Oh, I'm kidding you.
You bastard.
Our Cardinals are struggling, but don't count them out. They always seem to make a run at some point in the season, but we'll see where it goes. Cubs, hey, I got to give it to them. They came out firing, and they're already spending money and making some trades. So, are you a Cubs fan?
Yeah, man. Chicago's my hometown, so that's lifelong.
Your Bears picked up they had a good draft, I think, and they picked up a stud from Mizzou. Your Luther Burden III. He'll make some noise. Just wait.
Good. We need it.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know, but thank you for the opportunity. I really do appreciate it. You're doing
Matt.
I do. I'm going to brag on you. Thank you for all you've done for us in the field. Some of your just raw, real stuff I still have one of your Facebook posts a while back that you said, I think it was about asking for the sale. We literally print it off and talk to agents about it all the time because so many people are chasing these internet leads. And he's like, I think you said, do you want to grow a business? Go ask people to buy insurance. Just go ask people to buy insurance. And we use it all the time. And it's like, we have that post. It is so good and it's so raw and it's so real. And we just need to hear it because it's easy to get off track and go, just do more quotes. And I hate saying that to agents. You just got to do more quotes. Hold on. Let's dive in and see what your quotes actually are and where they're coming from. But go ask people to quote their business.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I remember I had a moment and I just started typing. I was all worked up for some reason and it turned out pretty well, I think. So I'm glad that you read it and use it. That means a lot to me.
We still reference it.
Hi, Matt. Thank you so much for coming on. We could go another hour. I know. I really appreciate your time. I know that your agents are lucky to have you. Farmers is lucky to have you. I really appreciate you spending some time with me and sharing your expertise and your time. I'm really glad we had a chance to catch up and create some content. And I think we should do it again in the future.
Let's do it. And I'll say thank you back again. And I'm fortunate to be with farmers. I'm fortunate to be able to work with my agency owners that I get to work with. So there comes some gratefulness that comes with all that too. And I'm very humbled to be able to work with them. So thank you for the opportunity.
You bet. All right, buddy. Let's go get it. Thank you.
All right, bye.
All right, bye. All right, there it is. I told you it was going to be good. He's a Titan. And I appreciate you coming on, Matt. That was outstanding. I know a lot of agents are going to get a lot of value from that. So really appreciate you and your time. My name is Matt as well. You can find me all over the place. You can find me at agencylaunch.net. I am on LinkedIn. I am on Threads and Instagram at Dietz Agency. Don't forget to send me a text, 208-213-8809. Send me the word free and get a ton of free stuff to help you navigate this world that you have chosen to enter. So 208-213-8809. Send me the word free and go get after it. Thank you so much for listening. Keep up the good work.